we all welcome you to this centennial event. And I have to say, this is purely the gift of Krista Tippett. It is. It's her loving gift to us, really, in honor of Mel Hilsley and Ray Anderson, who are such dear, dear friends of hers. I don't think Krista really needs any introduction. Certainly not. You know that she's the creator and the host of a Peabody Award-winning program on V, which was originally called Speaking of Faith. It was awarded the National Medal of Humanities a couple of years ago, and is the author of 3 books, 2 of which are right here. And the format is going to be the following: that we'll have a conversation with some questions that about topics that gleaned from some of you for your suggestions, and I know you all have questions. So we will talk. For me and for I know many of us here, your writings and your programs are really reliable sources of spiritual inspiration. And renewal. And I know people in the audience here find other forms of renewal as well: worship, nature, music. And if it's not too indiscreet, I'd like to know where you go for renewal and refreshment, spiritual renewal and refreshment.
One of the interesting things about this age we inhabit is that we are free to craft our spiritual lives. And I think that's even true for people who are planted in traditions. We supplement it in so many ways. Something that's become really important to me in the last few years is my yoga practice. I actually do believe that if everyone did yoga, we could probably solve all these problems. As this yoga teacher once said to me, if we could just get all these world leaders breathing together. And it makes sense, right? There was a long period of time where I read Compline and Common Prayer every night. These days I have a morning kind of contemplative practice that I've gone in and out of, and then I keep coming back to it, realizing it's not optional. I've done cobbling something together, just like everybody else. I think the conversations I have are so nourishing for me, right, and so educational.
An inquiry into the mystery and art of living. And in your in the National Humanities Medal citation, you were celebrated for thoughtfully delving into the mysteries of human existence. And again, our sense of the mystery that is engaging us obviously changes. Can you share some idea about hints about what mystery might be most kind of intriguing or life-giving to you right now?
Well, I want to say something, which is we were speaking earlier about how Nell Hilsley really is part of the reason that my show exists, because of the encouragement she gave me. And it was such a hard sell in the early 2000s to say we're going to talk about this religious and spiritual part of life. And when I won the National Humanities Medal and I read that citation, thoughtfully delving into the mysteries of human existence, I felt like, we are growing up. It was, to me, it was a big deal that in a place like the White House, culturally, we can, because in the 20th century, I think, and I actually think we're dealing with the aftermath of this now also in places like the White House, we tried to banish mystery. And we pretended like we were rational and we'd just come up with the right system and things we can count, that's what matters. And we just keep relearning that we are very strange and illogical and beautiful and unpredictable, and and mysterious. And I love my conversations with scientists. I feel that scientists, well, I feel that the religion I grew up with, which was Southern Baptist, mystery had to be contained. It was in the vocabulary, but you didn't want too much of it. I actually feel that scientists have a, very expansive, it's not just that they have a vocabulary of mystery, they take delight in it. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they imbue it with transcendent meaning, but they are just very happy to stand before it and to be in awe and to be excited that we have things to learn. And to be excited when what we thought we knew turns out not to be true. Because what an adventure to figure out what we have to learn next. And so I actually have had this feeling that scientists, and I think especially physicists, are keeping the concept of mystery alive now in a way that our theologians as a group are not, which is so interesting to me. That said, I believe my sense is that mystery, yes, there is this vast mystery of the cosmos, but I think mystery is an ordinary experience of the everyday. It's a common human experience like falling in love and being born and dying. And so I want us to embrace its vastness, and I also think it's important to acknowledge how ordinary it is.
Thank you. I've been recently inspired by the Reverend Dr. William Barber II's moral movement.
Yeah.
Just tuning into that. I mean, of course, I heard about Moral Mondays, but who else do you think is doing good work on the moral agenda?
There are so many people doing good work.
That's great.
And we just don't wait it in the same way when we tell the story of our time. Right? And the story was in the news today, which is all true. Well, it's not all true. As we know, it's not all true. There are some facts involved. I do think we're in a moral crisis. I don't think that's a very original thought. I think it's a moment of reckoning. And all through last year, my thought was about, the thing that felt most urgent to me was whoever won, we were going to have to reweave common life and re-inject moral imagination, but that it's not going to happen from the top down now. And I don't think it would have if Hillary Clinton had won. I mean, it's just the tenor of where we are collectively. And there's something really deeply broken and dysfunctional about our national political process. And that's unsettling because that's the place we want to look to see the way forward. That's where we want to look for leadership. That's where we want to tell our children they can look for leadership. That's not true. That's the bad news, and the aspect of that which I feel we have to embrace as a calling is that it is up to us to weave the new realities we're going to inhabit. And I do see people doing that everywhere, and they have been doing that everywhere. And it's just, it's not, I think that moving forward, it's important that it's happening at every level. It's happening inside families and in neighborhoods. and in communities like this, and in workplaces, which also are public life. So, I mean, there are people we can point at like that who have, and there's so many of them. I was on the phone today with John Powell, who's at Berkeley, who's doing this conference in April called Othering and Belonging. And that's the frame in which they're looking at the work we have to do. What we have to write, that we have to humanize. We have to humanize all of these challenges. And I talk to people every day. I mean, this may surprise you, but I've been on the phone with Glenn Beck a few times in the last month. And he's still a conservative, and he's Glenn Beck. And he's the first person to say that. But he is somebody who, from a very different place on our spectrum, has been reckoning with and doing a lot of soul searching about what part did he play in getting us where we are now. So, and so I am, and for whatever reason, a lot of people are reaching out to me. So I feel like I have this privileged position to see what's unfolding, and it's so much more interesting, and so much more hope-giving than what was in the New York Times today. Again, that's all true, but it's not the whole story. So I feel like really my answer to that question is we are all creating that whole story.
There's that cartoon, I think it may have been a New Yorker cartoon, it was circulating long before the election, during the primaries. My desire to be well informed is currently at odds with my desire to remain sane. And that's the tension.
Yeah.
That's the tension.
Yeah.
We do have to remain well informed, and at the same time can't allow ourselves to go into this despair over, a long time ago, John Luigi was still editor of Newsweek. He spoke to a gathering at the Diocese of Texas, and in the Q&A, somebody asked him about bias in the media, and he said, on the whole, I don't think the media are biased in one direction or another politically, but I can tell you, the media are biased toward conflict.
Yeah.
And division
Right.
has been, it sells. It sells.
It does, and also somewhere along the way we started to define news as the extraordinarily terrible thing that happened.
Right.
And then I remember talking to a journalist a couple years ago who was there. All of our institutions are reforming and collapsing and reforming, and so there are people thinking about what journalism has to become. And there's something called solutions journalism. Where this journalist was talking to me about like social justice journalism or something like that. It was right, but we're going to cover, I can't remember if that's the title, but anyway, a more respectable journalist said, well, that's getting into advocacy. And she said, well, so does that mean that because you only cover catastrophe, you are an advocate for catastrophe? Right? So there are big things we have to rethink and reframe.
Getting back to those divisions, I think a number of people here find themselves living in a parallel universe with people they love, old friends, family, who are reading the same facts and seeing a completely different world. It's baffling, and of course it's troubling. And yesterday's gospel, of course, was be reconciled to your brother and sister. Do you have any advice about that?
I was having this conversation yesterday about starting new conversations, and someone said to me, my best friend, my oldest friend, is on the absolute other side of the spectrum, and I cannot find a way to start this conversation with her. How can I start conversations with anyone else? I wonder if in this kind of moment, maybe we don't start closest to home. Because actually that's where it's
That's
hardest.
interesting, yeah.
everybody has the brother-in-law. You notice that? Every family has the brother-in-law. And having said that, so this is a really tricky moment. But I do believe that we have intelligence in our families that we could apply externally. For example, the fact that we all do have people with whom we're in an intimate relationship, like circles of family and friends. So let's say it this way, that we know that in our intimate circles, there is a range of how much those people make sense to us and how much we have in common with them, and there are a number of them who drive us crazy. And yet we love them, and we choose to stay in a relationship, and we sometimes do that by knowing what conversations we won't have, the things we won't talk about, to keep the peace, because we love them. There's something in the human brain that when we imagine the other across those lines of family and friends, we imagine a homogeneity that is not there in our circles of family and friends. And so these are really quiet, gentle, psychological moves, but I think, it would help us if we started imagining that in that other group, the people who voted for the other side, there's as much difference among them as there is among us. I mean, I think kind of softening our imagination about our neighbors who have become strangers. I personally think that right now, and I don't think this is just in immediate circles, I think we have to start, I don't actually think we can start by talking about the things that we're most upset about. No. What we do have to start engaging around is how to live together. I don't think we're going to have a lot of common ground right now. We really want that as Americans. We either want it to be there, or we want to impose it by taking the vote or calling the debate. And, we took the vote. And, this is a challenging thought, but we can't allow, common ground can't be a prerequisite for common life. And one thing I've heard from really wise people I've interviewed across the years who've worked in conflict resolution and worked in creating relationship across difference, is that when you have deep, deep difference, common ground, here's something, Francis Kisling said it to me this way, that the pressure of coming to agreement can get in the way of understanding each other. And we really don't understand each other. What this asks of us is to let go of some things that feel so instinctive, like it's the only way we can do it, which is that we need to talk about what's in the room. I personally think that one way to imagine starting new conversations right now is not to have the debate or to approach disagreement head on, but to identify some shared questions. So I was in Iowa recently, and a woman told me about being part of a group of parents from their school who were about half, it was right after the election, and about half of them had voted for Donald Trump and about half of them had voted for Hillary Clinton. All of them were really concerned about the effect the election and the discourse of the election had on their children. And so they had decided to come together around that question of how are we going to talk to our children about this and how are we going to move forward. I think that is a really good model for continuing to live together and understanding that we just won't agree right now.
And the wounds are so deep and so fresh. Thank you. It's very, very wise. This is a question from Frank Janicic. How do we create the world question from Frank Janicic. How do we create the world we want our children to inhabit? And what part does the church need to play? That's a small subject.
The wisest people I've spoken with about parenting over the years gave me the bad news that our children are rarely really listening to us. They're rarely listening to us as much as we want them to be listening to us, and they're always watching us harder than we want them to be watching us. And that, but I think what the relief in that is that us tending to our spiritual life is not selfish, it's not indulgent. We do that on behalf of our children. And us figuring out whatever it means in our adult ways to create new realities, and letting them be witnesses to that and be part of that is, so, we don't have to relinquish what our needs are in this moment to do that for our kids. I mean, churches, right now, we have a crisis in this country of people of where are the trustworthy spaces, right? Politics is not a trustworthy space. Media is not a trustworthy space. When we think about where we do public life, it feels fraught. Parker Palmer has been a great mentor to me, and something he said to me years and years ago has totally formed my work. He said, we're very skilled at bringing many aspects of ourselves into our public spaces. We're good at bringing our intellect in. We know how to state an opinion. We're actually pretty good at bringing our emotions into the public sphere. But the soul, the insights of the soul are something different. It will run away if it is cross-examined. It's a very intimate part of us. And he said that for the soul to speak its truths, you need quiet, inviting, and trustworthy spaces. And as I said, the places that come to mind most readily as public life do not have those attributes. But a church does, a healthy church. And I think there could really be a new role for a church as part of a community, as part of public life, just to be this space that is hospitable, where people can come and gather across differences and just know that it'll be quiet, inviting, and trustworthy. That would be huge right now.
I think that's one of the charisms of this church. Service is one and community is one. And we have a huge spectrum of belief, like all Episcopal churches have been.
Yeah.
Lots of questions, a big spectrum of practice going from the contemplative to. And so I think thank you, because I think it's like all of your deepest spiritual gifts, it's the thing you take for granted.
Yeah.
So and of course I put it on the banner outside, but this is 100 years of sanctuary, service, and community, because it is a charism here. I think the people who were brought up here, and there are a number of the pews, take it for granted. And thank you. So that's a role
Don't do that.
into the next century of this sweet space. Something we can do. And the then suffragan bishop of Maryland was arrested for her DUI, hit and run, killing of the bicycle guy. The Washington Post defined, for their readers, they had to tell the readers who the Episcopal Church was, as, quote, a small, historically significant denomination. When did this happen? A couple of years ago. And yes, you've got something of a long history with the Episcopal Church, but the Episcopal Church, of course, has a very long history in this country, right?
And other countries.
Exactly. We had to become the Episcopal Church after the unpleasantness of 1776. So that really was, the knife. It's true. We're a small, historically significant denomination. We're a very healthy parish, and we're lucky to be. Do you ever think about, given your history of the Episcopal Church, your theological studies at Yale, your having been a clergy wife, do you think about the role of the Episcopal Church at all in, you've articulated some of what the church itself can be, and that's really important, a safe space, and we can be, and this one is. But maybe you don't even think about the denomination itself, but do you have any thoughts about that?
Like everything and everyone, the Episcopal Church has this potential that is just phenomenal. I mean, the Episcopal Church at its best is a place that embraces difference as a creative tension.
By definition.
And even as work of holiness in and of itself. Then each individual church is true to that or interprets that with infinite variety. But that virtue is precisely what the world needs right now. We need less information, we need more discernment.
Yes. Yes.
And I actually think it could be fruitful in a community like this. Not to think, what is a new thing we have to do, but to be in discernment of how do we live more deeply into this thing we already are, this thing that is in our DNA.
Thank you. That's a good project for me.